What will it take for you to be great, for you to do big things? I think you have to remember one key saying. One thing that my mentor told me, Joel Salatin, when I was 19. He said, Ty, the enemy of the great is the good. He was talking about opportunity cost. The enemy of the great is the good. And I've thought about that for many years. I'm actually here in Vegas. I'm going to the Conor McGregor Nate Diaz rematch here. I got courtside seats, so make sure you watch for me on my Snap if you want to see quick updates. Little suite here in Vegas, got a kitchen. I'm also going to give away, for those of you watching this here at the beginning, the first viewers, I'm going to be giving away an Apple Watch today. So at the end of the video, I'll give away what I call a golden ticket password. Then you just Snapchat me that password, and the first person to snap it to me wins the Apple Watch. But anyway, back to doing big things. At every point in your life, whatever you're trying to do, it can be fitness goals, it can be business goals, you're always at a crossroad and you're always decision making. The human brain is primarily what they call an algorithm. An algorithm means a computer or a formula that makes decisions, that tries to decide between different things. It's not the best definition of an algorithm, but that's the good way to think about an algorithm. Now, you got to pick whether you go to college or don't go to college. You got to pick your career. You have to pick who you marry. You have to pick your religion. You have to pick what book you're going to read today, what you're going to eat for breakfast. And so life comes down to the quality of your decisions, right? Some people, we all know them, they make crappy decisions. And the next thing you know, you sum it all up and they have a crappy life. And if you're trying to avoid that, what you have to do is go, how, when I come to the crossroads between two decisions, do I get good at making the right one? And what happens is many people settle for good decisions. And let me just give a disclaimer before I go too far into this. It's not always bad to pick good over great. Sometimes there's a great book on this called The Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz. And he recommends that you don't always try to get the greatest. Sometimes to get the best, you'll have to sacrifice too much of your other goals. So for example, if your main goal is to be an entrepreneur, you want to be the next Bill Gates, the next Mark Zuckerberg, the next Steve Jobs, you're probably not going to also be an Olympic athlete, because to be an Olympic athlete is going to take 10 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours a day of training nonstop. And to be an entrepreneur is going to take, like Bill Gates, it's going to take you 8 or 10 hours. And there's not enough time in the day. So you'll have to choose. So you might say, I want to be a great entrepreneur and a good athlete. So I just want to give that disclaimer that you don't always have to shoot for greatness in every area, because you're going to run out of time. You got to pick and choose. But around that area that really matters to you, and I like to think about life in those 4 pillars: health, wealth, love, happiness. Out of those 4, you pick the one that matters the most to you. And there's no right or wrong. Some people's dream is to be, like I said, an athlete, to be fit, to be Arnold Classic bodybuilder or whatever it might be, fitness model. And you might want to be good at all the other areas. You might be a lover. You want to have, your main dream is to get married and live happily ever after. Or you might want to be an entrepreneur. Or you might want to be the happiest person on the world and not have much responsibilities, and that's what you're great at. So the first thing you got to do in deciding good versus great is pick which of those 4 is your primary. What's the number one thing that you want? You can have all 4 of them be important, but one can be slightly more important. And around that area, you shouldn't compromise. Not much. So what happens is all of us are stubborn in life, myself included. And so let's say you want to be a great business person, or you want to have a great social life, or you have some friends around you. You got to ask yourself, is there an end game to this relationship? If you're in business, you launch a business, it's not going so well, you go, is there an end game? Meaning, can you see down the road, if you persevere, if you work hard enough, that there's some end game that you want? You're dating someone, it's a little bit rocky, not always working out, but you go, is there an end game to my relationship with this person? Could I see myself working this out and life going amazing? And you got to be honest with yourself. Gut feeling here is important because we all like to project out delusionally. And if the answer is no, there's probably no end game, then just cut it short, because the enemy of your greatness will be taking the good choice, compromising. So if you say, oh, this, I'm dating this person, it's a pretty good relationship, I don't know that it'll ever be great, it's not my first choice, it's not my, well, if your primary interest in life is to have this amazing relationship romantically, then you're gonna have to move on, and don't be stubborn. And the way I think about it, and the reason I record these videos is these are like mental journals to myself to remind me of what my mentors taught me. It's not really me preaching at you, it's me reminding myself. They say scientifically that if you go out and say whatever it is you're learning, you have 70% retention. So all those of you who ask me how you can read and retain what you read, this is a great way to do it, just what I'm doing, even if you don't release the video to many people. So when you're at this crossroads and you decide this is an important area to you, you got to let go of stubbornness. And there's a word that the Amish use in German. It's called Gelassenheit. It means giving up to God. If you're not religious, you could call it giving up to something bigger yourself. And you have to have the faith to go, I'm going to give up on this relationship. I'm going to let this one go because there's a better one around the corner. And if you don't do that, you never make room for something better. And that's called opportunity cost. That's what investors call opportunity cost. And if you don't do this consistently, the next thing you know, your whole life is filled up with subpar decisions and subpar people and subpar careers and subpar, locations that you live at and subpar social lives and a subpar body. And if you look around yourself in the world, that's what the world's full of. But if you start picking and choosing, you start going, okay, in this area of my life, I'm just okay with good. I'm going to make a decent decision. That's okay. You might say, well, I'm not trying to be a pro athlete. I just want to have a decent body. Okay. So you make your decisions there. But around that area that's super important to you, maybe it's your career, you go, I'm not settling. Now, last thing I want to say about settling, this is where it's tricky. Because sometimes if you're not careful, we all know people that don't persevere, and the second it gets hard, they move on. And that's a mistake. That's why I said, ask yourself, is there an end game to you working hard? So if you start a business and it's not working well at all, and you quit, you might lose out, because maybe if you had pushed a little harder, that business would have turned into something big. But think about this. What if you push hard and it never works out, and 10 years later or 5 years later, you realize you wasted years of your life and thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars investing in the wrong thing, where there was this other opportunity and you missed that opportunity? That's opportunity cost. So the way I think about it is I go, can I see myself in my gut feeling, in my mind's eye, can I see myself turning this bad boy around? Turning this, maybe if it's with a person, can I see turning this relationship around? Maybe when I get to know them a little better, it'll work out a little. But having that ability, that discernment, maybe you call that wisdom. This is it. That's how you become great. The wisdom to decide whether you're going to settle, which you must do sometime, or you're not going to settle, which you also must do sometimes. So when you can get that balance, teach me. I'm happy to learn. So let's do a survey. Oh, by the way, golden ticket, golden password, just Snapchat me on @TyLopez if you're one of the first people to watch this. And I'm giving away today, August 20th, 2016, a Apple Watch, brand new. So the code is opportunity. Just Snapchat me directly. @TyLopez is my Snapchat. Follow me and just send me a direct snap with the word opportunity. And the first one that I see, I'll kind of just scroll through randomly and I'll screenshot it and I'll announce it on Snapchat so you can see. Now, before I end, let's do a quick survey here. Down here below, what's an area in your life where your gut feeling is you've been too stubborn and you're trying to push it and it's just never going to work out, and you should just stop and move on to something better and make room for greatness? Do it below. It could be a relationship with a person. Try to write some details. The reason I say write this below, Not only is it a cool survey to see what people are, 90 people in 98 countries follow these videos, so it's cool. But also, when you write stuff down, it brings clarity in your life. So try to be as specific as possible. You don't have to put their first name or their full name. Maybe put their first name or their first letter of their name. If it's a business, you don't have to, say I hate my job. Maybe your boss is reading this, but give some insight into it. Anyway, leave that below. Make sure you watch my Snapchat. I'll be at the fight. Also my Instagram stories. So, yeah. Actually, oh yeah, for that code to win the Apple Watch, you can direct message me on Instagram or Snapchat saying the password opportunity. And remember, it's time sensitive. It's August 20th. You can watch this video whenever, for years from now, but to win the Apple Watch for today. So my Snapchat and Instagram, both at Ty Lopez. Remember, the enemy of the great is the good. Be careful of falling into that trap. You'll have to do it sometimes because you'll run out of life. But you shouldn't do it around those areas that really matter, those priority areas for you, So it's my thought of the day from my mentor Joel Salatin. Make sure you find mentors. Change your game. Change the game. Change the game of life. Quickest way to get to where you want to go is to have a proven formula to get to where you want to go. As Picasso said, good artists copy, great artists steal. If you don't believe me, look at Instagram. Their stories copied Snapchat pretty blatantly. But hey, Picasso wasn't dumb, was he? Anyway, see ya.